man. So, I'm not gonna lie. I know about every change in today's video. I watched True Talent react to it, Hens, Polyester, and the reactions were quite different. True Talent, if you don't know who he is known for being the hot take maker of Dead by Daylight. Everyone hates him. Well, I'd say most people hate him because they think his takes are really horrible. Me personally, I'm one of the people that think his takes are amazing. Of course, I don't agree with every single take he's made, obviously, but most of his takes I do agree with, like hooks before kills, whatever else he's done because my memory's horrible and I can't remember. But yeah, I know about all the changes, and oh god, I need to talk about them because this is just ridiculous, bro. Alright, so first things first is the finisher Mori. The killer can now perform a Mori on the final survivor without the use of the yellow offering. Objects obstructing the camera during the Mori animation will fade away, so you won't be able to censor Moris anymore. If you try to Mori, it won't put a giant wall in the way, so you don't have to take people to the open anymore. Is what it's sounding like. And then rework. Memento Mori offerings have a new effect. Gain a large blood point bonus when performing a Mori on the final survivor. I don't know why it says rework because it's a new effect, so it should just say new, not rework. That just makes me think that Moris are entirely different, but it just says there's a new effect on it, so yeah. And I'm not going to read the dev notes. You guys can pause and read if you want to. It usually just tells you why they did what they did, and I mean, I'm not really interested. Okay. Survivor perks. Now, this is where I was like, oh my god, what are they doing? Like, let's just read. These first two are the main offenders, in my opinion. First, we have Teamwork Power of 2. If you don't know what this does, after healing a survivor, or it might be the other way around, after being healed. Well, I don't know which way they go, but let's just say after healing a survivor. So after healing a survivor, you and the healed survivor both get 5% haste while within 12 meters of each other. Now, this has a cooldown of 140 seconds right now, which is quite large of a cooldown, in my opinion. Now, here's what it does now. New. The effect will linger for a few seconds when out of range. I don't know what it means by a few seconds. It could be 3 seconds, 5. They really need to be more specific when they give these updates. Let's just say 5, though. Let's say after leaving... let's just read the second part. Increase the range to 16 meters instead of 12. Okay. So let's say you leave 16 meters... and there's a 5 seconds that it lasts for. If you go within 16 meters of that survivor again, it will reset, and it will not be lingering anymore. You'll just have it until you leave the range again, so on. Now this right here, this next one, it just blows my mind. I really hope this doesn't go into the game like this. They should have... Okay, so what it says is, Teamwork Power of 2 no longer has a cooldown. Wow. Now, of course, the cooldown was way too long. But it should have a cooldown, you know, like, you could just, for the people, like, I know, you could heal someone, and, okay, hold on, let me read the last part, though. It no longer deactivates when either of you lose a health state. So what you could do is heal the person, you'll both have the haste, they get injured, and go down or something, then they get hooked, and then you're out of the range, so it will reset, but there's no cooldown. So you could take them off the hook, heal them again, and do it all over again. And my main problem with this is... You know the perk Blood Pact. After healing the obsession, you both get 7% haste. You can combine it with this. So if you just let's say you for the people your obsession. Now you both have 12% haste. So if it's a huntress or a spirit, you're already faster than them. And let's say you make it to the end game and you both have hope. What's the killer gonna do? What? Like how much is that? How much is that? 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. You're moving at 119. And let's just say babysitter, for example. You could unhook someone for the people them, or just heal them normally if they have resurgence or something. And now they have 17% from getting unhooked on top of the 5% you just gave them, and then Blood Pact would add another 7. That is just ridiculous, in my opinion. And I think there should be a cooldown. Obviously, it shouldn't be 140 seconds. That is over 2 minutes. You could literally get almost 2 generators done in that amount of time, like a gen and a half almost. That's just ridiculous. But I think the cooldown should be at least a minute. Like at most, it should be a minute. At least probably 30 seconds, but it should have a cooldown because this is ridiculous. And then that's when we get to the next teamwork perk. And they did pretty much the same thing. It lingers when out of range. You know, it's the same exact thing. It's the same exact thing, except this has nothing to do with haste. It's scratch marks. Scratch marks, I'm fine with them doing that because, you know, you can still hear their grunts of pain, and even if they have Iron Will or something, you can still hear them running. You know, there's ways to get around the scratch marks one, but the haste, if you're a killer like Trapper, or that's probably not a good example, he can get haste now. Who's like a really, let's say you're Freddy. Let's say you're Freddy, right? How are you going to catch up to anyone? How? What do you do? You don't get haste. You can put down the dream snares, but they're going to be running so fast. By the time you put it down, they're going to be in front of it. Like, there's nothing you can do. Freddy's already bad enough. This just makes him worse. Like Michael Myers, again, a M1 killer. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? You know, Hag, what's she going to do? Unless she already has a trap in front, there's nothing she can do. And then even hitting one of them doesn't get rid of it. Downing one of them, it doesn't say that it gets rid of it either. I think it, like, if it doesn't deactivate when losing a health state, I think it should at least deactivate when one of them gets downed. That would make sense to me, and then it should go on cooldown for a minute, but it doesn't. And now this one, actually, I forgot this perk was being changed, and now that I'm remembering, I'm just like, oh my god, what are they doing? I'm sorry, but if this gets put into live, I don't think I can play killer anymore. Because let me read corrective action to you. So, corrective action now applies to survivors within 8 meters. So it's like prove thyself. Actually, I think prove thyself is 4 meters, but yeah, this is double prove thyself range. Now here's what blows my mind. I know I've said that a lot this video, and I'm probably going to continue saying it, but prevented skill checks now become great instead of good. So, what I'm hearing is, and you are hearing this correctly, if 2 of you run corrective action and get on the same gen, and you both have hyperfocus, you could just back up. If you have the toggle feature, you press the button and you just leave it. Because guess what? One of you, it will miss the skill check, but your teammate will make that into a great. Then you'll have a hyperfocus stack. Right? Now, corrective action, you have to hit great skill checks to get it back, right? But you're going to be constantly hitting great skill checks, right? So, if you both just leave, the game will play itself. You'll get that gen done in probably 30 seconds, right? Like, you'll get a stack, boom. The other person gets it, your corrective action makes theirs great, and it just keeps going. The cycle will go on. So there's no way this is staying in the game. If it does, I can't play killer. I might be able to handle collective stealth and power of 2, but there's no way I'm dealing with this with hyperfocus. I get gen rushed as is, okay? This is just going to make my life so much more miserable as killer. If you're a killer main, I feel bad for you. Please, you might want to take a break if this goes to live. Just take a 1-month break. Wait for them to change it back to good skill checks, because this is stupid. This is absolutely stupid. Now, here's what they could do to make it more fair. I think to get corrective action back, you have to hit a good skill check. Because then at least it can't, like, the cycle can't repeat itself without you doing anything. You have to actually let go and hit a good skill check. So that could prevent it. But then again, if you have stakeout, it's just going to, you know, like, it doesn't really matter what they do. Yeah. I don't know, man. Inner focus. Now this one is actually balanced. It's not super survivor-sided and broken. So it increases the aura range to 10 seconds, and it removed the range requirement. So basically what this did before is if you were within 32 meters of a survivor that just got a health state removed, you can see the killer's aura for 5 seconds. Now there's no range on it at all, and it's 10 seconds. That's pretty good, in my opinion. We're going to live forever. The healing speed bonus is 150. If you don't know what this perk does, basically, when you heal someone out of the dying state, it's 100% faster, now 150. If you get a safe unhook or a protection hit, the next time you pick someone off the ground, they have endurance for 8 seconds. So, they removed the endurance need to be activated. So you don't need to take a body block or unhook someone safely to get the endurance next time you pick someone up. Now, instead, they always get endurance when you pick them up, but it has a 30-second cooldown. I think this is very balanced. Honestly, this will help with slugging so much. I highly doubt anyone's going to run the perk still because, you know, I don't know. People just don't like running good perks in this game, especially if you're on my team. My solo queue teammates are very bad. But, oh, my controller needs to update. But yeah, I think this is overall good. Hopefully people actually use it. Poised. When you first start repairing a generator, you see the killer's aura for 6 seconds. And your scratch marks are hidden for 14 when a gen is done now instead of 10. overall, I think this is a really good change. Poised is an absolutely horrible perk. It's still not that good because it's only the first time you do a gen, which, you know, I think that's okay, but I wouldn't use it still. Personally, I would not use it. I think it should be like batteries included, but instead for Survivor. So like you come within, I wouldn't say 12 because, you know, Survivors, they kind of, yeah. But let's say you go within 8 meters of a generator. You lose your scratch marks until you leave that range, and then you still have no scratch marks for, let's say, 3 seconds. That's what I think it should be. It shouldn't be you lose your scratch marks for 14 seconds after a gen's done, because if you're not in chase, that's useless to you. That's what I think. Okay, now Blood Rush. I love using Blood Rush, especially double sprint burst. It's very different now. Very, very different. It is now an anti-tunneling perk instead of just a get your exhaustion back perk. And so it no longer activates only when you're death hook. Now you use it both times. Both times you're unhooked, like dead hard or off the record. So it activates for 60 seconds after getting unhooked. So it's like Decisive Strike, but you get to use it twice again. It deactivates when doing a conspicuous action, you know, healing, touching an exit gate, touching a generator, touching a chest totem, you know, touching anything. And it deactivates during the end game. So it's just like off the record. Blood Rush no longer heals you or provides the broken status effect. So basically what this does is, the next time you would be exhausted, it immediately gets removed. So like, let's say you get unhooked, the killer's about to tunnel you. You sprint burst, and the second you become exhausted, it immediately goes away, and you get to sprint burst again. And since sprint bursting automatically makes you exhausted, I feel like it will just be 200% haste, pretty much. Or actually, I have a good idea for this. You dead hard, which makes you exhausted, and you get hit. And then it will give you your exhaustion back. So then you can use Lithe or Balanced. You can't use Sprint Burst with Dead Hard because it wouldn't work. But yeah, I think this would be really good with Dead Hard and Lithe, Dead Hard Balanced, you know. I think that would be pretty good. So overall, I think this is a great anti-tunnel perk now. Quick Gambit. Wow. When chased, see the auras of other survivors. Doesn't look like there's a range on it. Quick Gambit now has a 60-second cooldown upon losing a health state, and you'll see why there's a cooldown in a second. The repair progress is back down to 5 instead of 8. But the range is now removed. So you don't need to be within 36 meters of a generator for them to get the speed boost. Now, if you're across the entire map, someone on the other side of the map doing a gen will get that 5% haste. So that's why there's a cooldown. So that way, if you get hit, you know, it extends the chase. But it won't continue to give them the speed. Now, Distortion. I think a lot of people don't understand exactly what this means, because a lot of the people that I watched react to this, they didn't really understand what it meant. So let me explain it. Distortion no longer has tokens, and instead it deactivates once until you are chased. So, and the duration is 12 now, but here's what this means. Let's say you have one stack of Distortion, right? You have one token, let's say that. You cannot get the token back by being in the killer's terror radius. So let's say they have lethal. Now your one token is gone. If you enter chase, you get that token back, but you don't have to be in chase to keep it, you know? Like, you just have to enter chase. If you escape, you keep that token. That's what I'm saying. So basically, it prevents people from hiding the entire game with Distortion, because if you want that token back, you have to enter chase at least one time to get another token. So I honestly think this is very balanced. I really do think it is super balanced. Because Darva's idea was interesting. He said that, like, if one person runs Distortion, they get 4 tokens. If 2 people run it, it gets split, and they both get 2. But then, if 3 people run it, 2 people would get 1 token, and 1 person would get 2. That's not fair at all, you know? So I think this is much better than Darva's idea. No offense. If you're somehow watching this, he's definitely not. But, yeah, I think this is very good. Lucky Star. It now suppresses your grunts and... Oh, I thought this said and. It now It now suppresses grunts of pain and pools of blood as long as you're in the locker. So if you're in the locker for a minute, it's going to be the entire minute. The effect lingers for 30 seconds after exiting the locker. Let's say you get in a locker, you sprint vault out with quick and quiet, and then you start running. You'll have no pools of blood or grunts of pain. You will still have scratch marks though, so you can't just start running and hope the killer doesn't find you. But yeah, I think this is pretty good. I think this would be pretty good with probably Dance With Me, because you get no scratch marks when you exit. It's only for 3 seconds, though. But the main thing is it no longer reveals Survivor or generator auras when exiting the locker. That's the main reason I would use it, just to get some info. But I mean, yeah, I think this is very, very good. You pretty much have Iron Will when you're in a locker. I mean, at that point, I'd rather use Iron Will, but at the same time, this works when you're exhausted. So if I'm doing a head-on build or something, I would much prefer this than Iron Will, obviously. So yeah. Genetic limits. Septic Touch and Genetic limits are very, very similar. So I'm glad they changed at least one of them. I feel like they should have buffed Septic Touch rather than changing this entirely, but, you know, it is what it is. Anytime a survivor loses a health state, they suffer from the exhaustion status effect for 8 seconds. So let's say you hit them, they try to jump through a window and use life, they can't. So then you can actually catch up to them. Or I think this would be a really good counter to Dead Hard, which, you know, no one uses Dead Hard anymore. It's pretty much a dead perk. Yeah, this would be a great counter for Dead Hard, because if you hit them, they can't use it now that they're exhausted. So, you know. Leverage. When a survivor performs an unhook, their healing speed is reduced by 50% for 30 seconds. A lot of people think this is very niche. I think it is, too. If you combine it with, like, Scorch Hook, Gift of Pain, or Sloppy Butcher, I think this would be a little more viable, because then it would be 75% reduced healing. And let's say you mix this with Colorophobia or something, they're not getting that heal off anytime soon. Of course, if there's any new players in your lobby, they're going to be running Will Make It. Because it's a general perk, but it's a really good perk. I feel like more people in high MMR should run it. It's actually very good. And most people are going to be running Resurgence now because it got buffed. So this really won't do anything if they're running Resurgence. It's going to be pretty much the same time. Thwack. I like what they did with Thwack, by the way. I really do like it. Thwack now has tokens. It starts with 3. I don't know if there's a max, like if it caps at 3 or if it caps at like 10. I don't know. It doesn't say. But it starts with 3 tokens, and you gain 1 token every time you hook a survivor. When breaking a pallet or breakable wall, consume 1 token and cause survivors within 24 meters to scream and reveal their location for 5 seconds. So, I mean, I think this is great, because you can store... It doesn't say there's a max, so I'm just going to assume there is no cap. I'm going to assume there's no cap at all. So let's say you have 10 tokens. If you're in Chase, you're going to be getting constant info. I think this is a really good change. Machine learning. I love this. The most recently damaged generator becomes compromised. Before, you had to kick 1 gen, and then you had to kick another one, and that second one you kicked was compromised. And that was just super stupid and repetitive, and it was very hard to activate it. I would get it maybe once a match if I'm lucky. I'd barely ever get it twice. Mainly, it would just be like once. So, yeah, the most recent damage generator becomes compromised now. I like that. Deathbound. Deathbound no longer has a distance requirement to activate. Deathbound no longer has a duration and instead deactivates when the healer is hooked. I really think this is so dumb. True Talent didn't quite read it correctly. I'm pretty sure, maybe I'm not, I don't know, but I think I am. So, Deathbound, if you don't know, if you heal someone outside of the killer's tear radius, I believe, the person you heal is oblivious if they leave 8 meters from you. So basically, I think this just encourages tunneling. I don't think True Talent read it right. He said that it doesn't encourage tunneling, but I think it does. Deathbound deactivates when the healer is hooked. So if you just never hook the healer, that person is the healed person is going to be oblivious forever. Meaning you can just tunnel out the person that's oblivious because they're never going to hear your tear radius. You could just tunnel them out. So what are they going to do? Like, it doesn't make sense. Zancian Tactics. When a survivor is within 6 meters of a dropped pallet, within 16 meters of your location, reveal their aura for 10 seconds. I think this is great. If you're in Chase and you don't want to break a pallet for whatever reason, if it's like a really weak pallet or something, you could just constantly see their aura whenever they get within the range. Nice. Deadman Switch. Now only applies to the first survivor who stops repairing a generator. Increases the duration to 50 seconds, though, rather than 30. I think this still works with Pain Res. You know, if you hook someone with Pain Res, it will still kick them off because they will be the first one to get off the gen. So I think it would still work with that. So overall, I think this doesn't really change much because the main reason people use Deadman Switch is in Sinuin with Pain Res. So, you know, this doesn't really change much. Blood Echo no longer has a cooldown, and the duration is 30 seconds. It makes you exhausted and mangled, I believe, or exhausted and hemorrhaged. I don't really know. Crowd control. I think this is stupid. I really do think this is stupid. The last 5 vaults, which survivors vaulted through, are blocked by the entity, and it lasts until the Hex Totem is cleansed. Wow. On a map like Larry's, this isn't going to do much, to be honest. But if you're on like a map that has like no vaults at all, this will change that entirely. Because usually the maps that have barely any vaults, they're strong vaults, you know? Now, I think this is fine because it's a Hex. You know, a lot of people, behaviors usually like Hex totems need to be weak, even though they can be cleansed. You know, hexes should be strong. That's why they're cleansable. You know, if crowd control, like I think disillusion should be a hex personally. Whenever you injure someone, the next time, like when someone sprint vaults over a pallet in your terror radius, it breaks immediately. I think that should be a hex. It's not a hex though, and it doesn't seem to be that problematic for the game. So I think it's fine, but I still think it should be a hex. But yeah, overall, I think this is fine since it's a hex. That's it. Predator. When a survivor escapes chase, reveal their aura for 6 seconds, and the perk goes on cooldown for 40 seconds. I think the cooldown's a bit long, but other than that, this is great. Now, if the nurse is using it or a blight, especially nurse, if nurse is using this, she could just blink and catch you. I think that's kind of stupid. But if it's for like a trapper or something, and you just lose chase, as long as they don't have distortion, you're gonna immediately be able to find them and get back into the chase. I do think the cooldown should be like 30 seconds, not 40, but, you know, I guess it's fine. Killer updates. Skull Merchant. I do like playing Skull Merchant. I didn't think she needed to be nerfed, but I think these changes are okay. I think they're fine. The hindered penalty is now 5% instead of 10. Skull Merchant no longer gets haste when scanning someone. The number of drone scan lines is 1 instead of 2. That is going to be massive. That is a massive nerf. Drones are now always in their active state. That's a buff. And the scan lines are invisible if you are beyond 60 meters. Overall, I think this is pretty dang good. Hillbilly. They pretty much nerfed everything about his overdrive. Oh, no. Actually, that last one's not about overdrive. It's just default. Anyways, it decreases the time before overdrive starts to dissipate. So what that means is when you're charging up overdrive, the little white bar goes up. You have 8 seconds before the bar starts going back down to 0%. That's what that means. Decreases the movement speed to 11.5 when in overdrive. And decrease overdrive charges gained while revving and sprinting to 1.5 a second. I mean, yeah, and the missed attack cooldown is 2.7, 2.5. I think this is pretty decent, honestly. I think the Hillbilly is still going to be a very good character. And this right here actually makes his other add-ons kind of viable. But again, you're going to be using your chainsaw constantly. When you start revving your chainsaw, even for half a second, it doesn't dissipate. It restarts the timer. So this really won't do that much at all. But yeah, the twins. They just cooldown when crushed is 20 seconds. And after he downs someone, his cooldown is 3.2. Not bad. Unknown. Now this I really like. Update to the HUD now shows the teleport cooldown and the hallucination spawn time. That is amazing. Movement speed is now decreased sooner when charging your power. So people would just tap the power button to stop the hallucination from spawning. You can't do that. I mean, you can, but it slows you down now. Because right now, you have to fully charge it, and then it slows down. But now it will just slow down automatically. Increased teleport recovery speed by 15. Adjustments to the blurry photo in the vanishing box. I'm going to be honest, I don't know what the vanishing box does. I don't know what color it is or anything. I will quickly check. The vanishing box. I thought it was a purple. I'm not seeing it. What is the vanishing box then? I'm so confused, actually. I don't see it. Oh, okay. Survivors who complete generators become weakened against UVX. I'm not exactly sure how you can nerf that. How would that be? How would you be able to nerf that? They complete generators to become weakened. I don't know how they would nerf that, but they're going to, apparently. And improved visual and audio feedback when using UVX. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little review of the developer update. I think a lot of these changes are good. The killer ones are definitely much needed. I really do think it. Deathbound, it's going to, make people want to tunnel more. But other than that, I think all the killer ones are great. The survivor ones, though, oh, man, it just... Distortion, I think that's a healthy change. Lucky Star, healthy change. Quick Gambit. I don't know how I feel about it not having a range, but the fact that it does have the 60-second cooldown, I think makes it perfectly fine. Blood Rush, very nice anti-tunnel perk. Poised, I think it's, fine. We're going to live forever, great. Inner Focus, great. The 3 that I have the problem with are the 2 Teamwork perks and Corrective Action, though. Hopefully Corrective Action just doesn't work with Hyper Focus. I don't know how they would do that, but hopefully that's what they do. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Bye-bye.